course, witnesses are staying anonymous. They're terrified of threats and bullying. It's a very neutral and interesting piece.
Hollywood, a realm synonymous with manufactured narratives and carefully curated personas, is currently witnessing a spectacle that transcends the usual celebrity drama. Blake Lively, an actress who has long cultivated an image of effortless charm and relatable success, now finds herself at the epicenter of a rapidly escalating crisis. Imagine the meticulous effort, the years of strategic public appearances, the calculated social media presence, all seemingly on the verge of crumbling.
She can't prepare for what she doesn't know they have, and again, they have a lot.
This isn't merely a fleeting scandal destined for tomorrow's digital amnesia. This is a potentially seismic event triggered by a fearless exposé from The Hollywood Reporter, a publication unafraid to puncture the carefully constructed facades of stardom. What began as a seemingly innocuous magazine cover has detonated into a full-blown truth bomb, unleashing revelations that threaten to redefine Lively's career trajectory and shatter the public's perception of her. This isn't just about industry gossip, it's a fundamental challenge to her carefully managed brand. A brutal takedown meticulously packaged within the glossy pages of a respected publication. Blake Lively, accustomed to controlling her narrative, now faces a starkly different reality. A narrative aggressively being shaped about her, and one that paints a picture far removed from the polished image she has so diligently cultivated. The critical question echoing through Hollywood circles and across social media platforms is stark. Can Blake Lively possibly navigate this career-threatening storm, or is this exposé the catalyst for an irreversible meltdown? Prepare to have your assumptions challenged and the carefully constructed illusion of celebrity perfection irrevocably dismantled. The arrival of the Hollywood Reporter cover wasn't just a ripple in the celebrity pond. It was akin to a depth charge detonating in previously placid waters. Instead of the expected glamorous portrait, the cover image was jarringly unconventional, almost deliberately provocative, an illustration depicting Blake Lively, not in elegant attire but wielding a cartoonish slingshot, her target none other than Justin Baldoni. The sheer absurdity of the visual, casting a serious legal dispute as medieval-style cartoon combat, immediately set a bizarre and confrontational tone.
Now the Hollywood Reporter has seemingly outed the two actresses' names. They're pretty much being bullied to respond.
Backlash erupted instantly, a furious wave of accusations branding the magazine as sexist, insensitive, and deliberately inflammatory. Lively's formidable PR machine, a well-oiled apparatus accustomed to managing crises and shaping public opinion, swiftly mobilized. The playbook was familiar. Anonymous sources began whispering carefully crafted narratives to sympathetic outlets, attempting to frame the cover as a misogynistic attack, reinforcing the victim narrative before the deeper substance of the article could even be absorbed. The spin was predictable. Paint the magazine as the aggressor, deflect attention from the underlying accusations, and rally public sympathy through outrage. They strategically played the sexism card, a reliable tactic in an industry acutely sensitive to gender dynamics, hoping to garner immediate support and preemptively discredit any critical examination of Lively's claims. However, this time, the tactic felt transparent, almost desperate. While decrying a mere drawing as a sexist affront, the gravity of the actual allegations against Lively, hinted at within the article itself, began to loom large, creating a stark and unflattering contrast between the performative outrage and the potentially serious issues at hand. The irony hung heavy in the air. A figure known for projecting strength and independence appeared to be disproportionately rattled by a magazine illustration, inadvertently highlighting a vulnerability that undercut her carefully constructed image. The internet, usually quick to amplify celebrity outrage, hesitated, sensing a disconnect between the performative victimhood and the increasingly complex narrative emerging from the Hollywood Reporter's exposé.
As TMZ is now reporting, of course witnesses are staying anonymous. They're terrified of threats and bullying. Now this smells like Blake's PR team trying to spin why they're not coming forward.
The Hollywood Reporter article transcended mere celebrity scandal. It delved into the complexities of cultural interpretation and the often misunderstood nuances of faith in the hyper-scrutinized environment of Hollywood. Beyond the attention-grabbing cover, the piece strategically illuminated a crucial detail: Justin Baldoni's Baha'i faith. This wasn't a gratuitous biographical fact, it was presented as a potentially pivotal lens through which to understand the entire unfolding controversy. The article subtly posited that the conflict might not be rooted in malicious intent or deliberate harassment, but rather in a fundamental cultural chasm, a stark divergence in communication styles and interpretations of professional conduct. This nuanced perspective dramatically reshaped the narrative. No longer was it a simplistic dichotomy of aggressor and victim, male director and vulnerable actress. Instead, the piece introduced the possibility of a profound misunderstanding, a clash between Baldoni's actions, possibly informed by his faith's emphasis on warmth and community, and the intensely sensitive, often hyper-reactive environment of contemporary Hollywood, particularly in the post-Me Too era. Sources cited in the article revealed that Baldoni was open about his faith on set, fostering an atmosphere that, while perhaps well-intentioned, deviated from the norms of a secular Hollywood production. The suggestion was not that Baldoni's faith excused any genuinely inappropriate behavior, but rather that his actions, intended as expressions of goodwill and cultural connection, might have been misinterpreted, even weaponized, within a context primed to perceive microaggressions and potential power imbalances. This subtle but seismic shift in perspective proved incredibly damaging to Lively's carefully crafted narrative. It introduced a crucial element of ambiguity, forcing audiences to contemplate a reality where intentions and interpretations could be vastly different, and where cultural differences, rather than malice, might lie at the heart of the dispute. The black and white morality play Lively's team attempted to stage was suddenly awash in shades of gray, significantly eroding the certainty and outrage upon which her initial claims depended.
Even if Justin was too huggy or whatever the heck, or said she was sexy, none of this warrants this. And you still have to atone for what you did. So I found that incredibly telling. Hidden in a little footnote, her protection that, well, you know, I was told they were lawfully obtained. Yikes. Big yikes.
Blake Lively's response strategy leaned heavily into the well-worn tactic of victimhood, a calculated maneuver designed to evoke immediate sympathy and preemptively shut down critical inquiry. Her team unleashed a barrage of outrage, painting any questioning of her narrative as not only insensitive but actively complicit in perpetuating a harmful culture of disbelief towards women. They aggressively attacked The Hollywood Reporter, attempting to frame the publication itself as biased and irresponsible for even daring to present a perspective that deviated from Lively's. However, this aggressive victim stance conspicuously lacked a crucial element: substantive evidence. Amidst the pronouncements of indignation and the accusations of sexism, there was a noticeable absence of concrete proof to bolster her claims. The outrage felt performative, a carefully orchestrated display intended to compensate for the evidentiary gaps in her narrative. And the public, increasingly media-savvy and attuned to the nuances of online discourse, began to detect the strategic manipulation. The internet, initially perhaps inclined to side with a celebrity alleging potential misconduct, started exhibiting signs of skepticism. Social media comment sections, once reliable echo chambers of celebrity sympathy, filled with dissenting voices, questioning the narrative, demanding more than just emotional appeals. Memes and sarcastic commentary mocking Lively's perceived overreaction began to proliferate, signaling a palpable shift in public sentiment. Her attempts to control the narrative through sheer force of indignation were demonstrably backfiring, creating a boomerang effect that amplified scrutiny and eroded her credibility. Each emotionally charged statement, devoid of factual backing, only served to deepen public suspicion, highlighting the fragility of her position and the growing perception that the victim card was being played not out of genuine distress, but as a calculated and ultimately unsuccessful strategic maneuver.
Guys, she goes in and there's a lot of Twitter complaints, some of which, 2 or 3 of them are horrid and shouldn't be there, but some of them are spot on.
The emergence of the deleted text messages within Blake Lively's amended lawsuit injected a potent dose of suspicion into an already murky situation, escalating the controversy from a dispute over interpretation to a potential question of deliberate deception. These weren't minor redactions or inconsequential omissions. Key exchanges, potentially crucial to understanding the context of the allegations, had been strategically excised. This act of textual sanitization immediately raised red flags, suggesting a deliberate attempt to control not just the narrative, but the very evidence itself. Why, legal experts and public commentators questioned, would anyone remove critical pieces of communication unless those pieces fundamentally undermined their own position? The deleted messages, painstakingly recovered and analyzed by Baldoni's legal team, offered a starkly contrasting perspective when viewed in their entirety. They hinted at an inflation of initial claims, a potential exaggeration of events, and perhaps even a degree of fabrication designed to strengthen a narrative that was inherently weak. This revelation shifted the focus from alleged misconduct on set to alleged manipulation in the courtroom, a far more damaging accusation with potentially serious legal ramifications. The act of deleting evidence wasn't just a tactical error, it was a profound, self-inflicted wound, casting a pall of doubt over the entirety of Lively's legal strategy and personal credibility. It provided concrete ammunition for Baldoni's defense, transforming the narrative from a debate about cultural sensitivity into a demonstrable example of potentially unethical legal maneuvering. The strategic omission became a glaring symbol of a narrative built on shaky foundations, propped up by selective presentation of facts in a desperate attempt to maintain control over a rapidly unraveling story.
There's a lot of comments that she puts in here that you're just like, why would you want to take over someone's movie? The outfits in this end are so out of touch. No, we don't want to watch bullies like Blake.
While Blake Lively's camp grappled with the fallout of self-inflicted wounds and a faltering public image, Justin Baldoni's legal team, under the aggressive guidance of Brian Freeman, launched a meticulously planned and devastatingly effective counteroffensive. Their strategy was a masterclass in legal precision and evidence-based argumentation, a stark contrast to Lively's emotionally charged but evidentiarily thin approach. Freeman and his team didn't engage in public mudslinging or rely on sensationalist claims. Instead, they focused laser-like on presenting irrefutable evidence that systematically dismantled Lively's accusations. They amassed a comprehensive dossier of communications, text messages, emails, call records, even on-set documentation. Each piece meticulously cataloged and presented to directly contradict specific aspects of Lively's narrative. This wasn't a defensive posture, it was a proactive and relentless campaign to expose the weaknesses and inconsistencies in Lively's case, turning the legal battle into a showcase of evidentiary disparity. Baldoni's team strategically reframed the legal proceedings, shifting the focus from defending against harassment allegations to aggressively pursuing claims of defamation and reputational damage against Lively herself. This tactical pivot was a stroke of legal brilliance, transforming Baldoni from a defendant into a plaintiff, leveraging Lively's aggressive legal actions against her. The sheer volume and quality of evidence presented by Baldoni's side created a stark imbalance, painting a picture of a meticulously documented reality juxtaposed against a narrative increasingly perceived as flimsy, manipulative, and ultimately—
And there is not a shred of evidence to support it. Really? 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 Even before It Ends With Us, Baldoni wasn't afraid to interject elements of his religion on the set. He did talk about his religion a lot, says a source, on 5 Feet Apart. This had shades of Scientology, but with less of the prominence and people hovering at the times. I think that's being mean. Nothing I've done makes it anywhere near the criminal accusations and things that Scientology does, so.
The infamous slow dance scene, initially presented by Blake Lively as a key example of unwanted intimacy and directorial overreach, became a pivotal point of public and legal scrutiny, ultimately backfiring spectacularly and exposing a potential attempt to rewrite on-camera reality. Lively's accusations centered on Justin Baldoni allegedly improvising intimate gestures, a forehead kiss, caresses without prior consent or script approval, framing these actions as a violation of professional boundaries and a demonstration of power imbalance. This accusation, laden with implications of on-set misconduct, resonated initially with a public sensitized to issues of consent and power dynamics in Hollywood. However, the emergence of unedited video footage of the scene irrevocably undermined Lively's carefully crafted narrative. The video evidence revealed a starkly different reality, Lively not only actively participating in the scene, but demonstrably engaging in and reciprocating the very gestures she later claimed were forced upon her. This visual contradiction was devastating, a public and undeniable refutation of her core accusation. Critics and legal analysts seized upon this discrepancy, highlighting it as a prime example of selective storytelling and a potential attempt to deliberately mislead the public and the court. The Hollywood Reporter, in a further attempt to muddy the waters, cited an expert conspicuously absent from the film set who bizarrely attempted to interpret Lively's on-screen actions as indicators of unwillingness despite the clear visual evidence of active participation. This desperate attempt to spin the visual reality only amplified the perception of a narrative clinging to increasingly flimsy justifications. The slow dance scene, intended as a cornerstone of Lively's allegations, transformed into a potent symbol of the entire controversy, a meticulously constructed accusation ultimately undone by the unyielding truth of recorded reality, exposing a potential pattern of distortion and manipulation at the heart of her claims.
While Team Blake Lively may think they have the upper hand, sources say she has no idea what's coming regarding her battle with Justin Baldoni.
The Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni saga transcends the typical Hollywood feud, evolving into a stark morality tale about the seductive allure and ultimate fragility of narrative control in the age of hyper-transparency. Lively's strategic gamble, a high-stakes attempt to manipulate public perception and leverage the #MeToo movement for personal gain, ultimately imploded, revealing the inherent dangers of constructing a narrative divorced from verifiable truth. Her desperate maneuvers to dictate the story, to cast herself as a wronged victim and Baldoni as a transgressor, yielded a spectacular backfire, unleashing a torrent of public and media backlash that continues to intensify. The public, initially perhaps sympathetic, demonstrably turned against her as the weight of inconsistencies, demonstrable fabrications, and the damning evidence of deleted texts and misrepresented video footage accumulated. The deleted messages became a symbol of potential deception, the misrepresented slow dance scene a public demonstration of rewritten reality, each element contributing to a narrative of manipulation, not justice. The irony is particularly sharp. In attempting to capitalize on the critical discourse surrounding workplace misconduct and female empowerment, Lively may have inadvertently inflicted significant damage upon the very causes she purported to champion. By allegedly leveling unsubstantiated accusations and demonstrably distorting facts, she risks not only undermining her own credibility, but also eroding public trust in genuine claims of harassment, potentially setting a perilous precedent for future workplace disputes and chilling legitimate voice.